So now we demonstrate practically how to plot the DAC. So you would have set your velocity and everything. You can verify with your V1 block just to check if the range is accurate, or your V2 block. But let's just go straight to the DAC. So we will be starting the demonstration with our Olympus EPOCH 650. It is similar to whether you are using 4B, whether you are using EPOCH 600. The architecture is similar. So you go to your menu that have your TCG DAC and you go to your setup. When you go to your DAC setup, as you can see, your DAC TCG mode is off, your reference correct is off, and your 2080 DAC view is off. Just to explain, your TCG DAC mode, this is where you on and look at the various options that are available. Your reference correct means when you turn it on, it will autocorrect whatever value you get, it will autocorrect to your reference dB. Most times I would advise you turn it off. Your 20 to 80% DAC view is more of a kind of it will give you the view of your DAC within your 20 to 80%, which gives you a much more clearer view. But we can toggle the option on and off to see what happens. Just like your typical Olympus menu, how it works. If you look at the top here, DAC off, here are the options that are available. You can have your standard, your asymmetry, your GIS, or your custom. Custom is you that will determine how the DAC is going to come. I can pick any of the options here with the menu down here, or I can simply roll to collect the options I want. If I come to custom, for example, you see, in the case of custom will tell you you have the option of yourself choosing the kind of DAC you are going to get, whether you want 1 curve, 2 curve, 3 curve. So if you start going to each of the menu, you will see the option, number of curves you want. If you want 1, 2, 3, or 4 curve, if you want your first curve to be DAC plus 0, which is your 80% DAC. If you want it DAC minus 6, if you want it DAC minus 12, which is your typical asymmetry. You can even have up to 4 curve. That's the beauty of your custom. So the custom gives you that option to choose as many options as you want and however you want to do it. But if we go to our standard will just give us a typical DAC curve. No drama, no nothing. If I pick my asymmetry, the curves that are going to come out are going to be 3 DAC curves. So let's, just for the purpose of this video, let's start with asymmetry. So let's say I pick asymmetry and I accept. Now it's on. If I go, my DAC is on now. If you look at the options that are available for me, you'll see add and gate start. Those are the only 2 things I can adjust. If I go to my velocity, let me say I go to menu, I go to velocity, I will not be able to adjust the velocity. But I'm able to adjust the range. I'm able to adjust the range. But if I go to velocity, velocity has been cancelled. This one, I can adjust. But a lot more other items you can see, I cannot adjust. Like I told you, if you look, I say your velocity, your pulsar receiver function, all this, I will not be able to adjust as soon as I turn on the DAC. For me to be able to adjust these things, it means I will have to go and turn off the DAC. So if I go back to the DAC menu, I go to my first O, and I'm seeing multiple echoes, because one of the things you are going to see, if I look at this point, I'm seeing one echo here. The question is, if you look at your O, is this echo coming from the O? We are away from the O. If I bring it closer, because why I am talking about this, now if I increase my gain, value, if you can see, I have one echo, I have a second one, I have many more echo. How do you know which is your true echo? This one will be pretty easy because you can see a singular echo coming out, which is easy to identify. But as we go on, you will start seeing multiple echoes that are close together. How do you know which is your real echo? You have to first of all know the distance, the depth of this your hole. This plate is 20 mm thick. A quarter of 20 mm is 5 mm. So I want to see the hole at 5 mm. But here is the trick to it. This is my block, and this is the hole. Take note, this hole is a 3 mm side drill. This is not a 1.5 mm side drill, which means the distance from here to here is going to be 3 mm. It is the center, so this distance of 5 mm is actually the center, is actually the distance from the top here to the center of the hole, 5 mm. Which means this hole, if I subtract 1.5, which is the radius, at the topmost part of the hole, I should be getting it at 3.5. And at the bottommost part of it, I should be getting it 6.5. So you need to, because we've seen person there trying to get the hole at exactly 5 mm. So if I see any indication that ranges from 3.5 to 6 mm, 6.5 mm, I will know that this is my hole that I'm trying to plot the DAC for. So what do you do? That is why we say you should maximize. So I keep playing around. So the next thing I want to do is to go and get this echo. So I'm on my DAC menu. I press on my gate start, and I adjust my gate to the echo in question. So this is the echo I'm getting. If I look at my depth, I'm getting a depth of 4.3 mm. I'm getting my depth at 4.3, which ranges between the range of 3.5 to 6.5. So I will know that this is the hole that I am looking for. So what do? I maximize. I keep moving forward and backward. If you see, the hole is getting down and getting up. So this is the maximized point. This is the point where I'm getting the maximum echo. Keep your arm still and firm. Now, next one of the steps we'll go further is to adjust your gain. So I go to my gain, which is my dB, and I adjust until I get to 80% of the full screen height. So here I am at 80%. So I go back to my DAC main and I add. So I add this. If you look at it, you see a yellow spot, a red spot here, which shows that this point has been added. If you look at it, you see that this is not exactly at 80%. It's a little bit above 80%. I don't want it. What do? I delete it. So I can go back and start it again. I maximize. So it looks like it's at 80%. I add. So I've gotten my first point. What do? I go to my second point, which is the hole that is at half, which is this hole. So I can take it from this distance because I have a longer distance. Now this is a point, you can see multiple echoes coming now. Now this hole is at the middle of the plate, which is 10 mm. If you look at it, I should be getting it at around 8.5 and 11.5. If you look at this is around 10.8 for the depth. This is within the depth that I want. It's within the depth that I want. So what do? I try to maximize. I go back and forth until I maximize at this point. What do? I add. Now, if you look at this, because I chose as my 3, the 3 curves are being plotted simultaneously. If I had chosen standard, it is only one curve that will be coming out. So I go to my next point, which is at 3/4. Which is at 3/4. I can use this. This is at 3/4. So this is what I'm getting. Now, if you look at this is where I think Sonatest is a little bit easier in terms of the gate. The echo I'm getting now is lower than the gates that I'm working on. So I will need to go to my normal gate menu. I go to my normal gate menu and I will reduce the level. So I can go back to my DAC and go to gate start and so I'm getting the depth at 22 mm. We are not supposed to get the depth at 22 mm. We are supposed to get the depth at three quarter of 20 mm. Three-quarter of 20 mm should be 15. So I should be getting around 13.5 to 18.5. But what I'm seeing here, I'm seeing to 20 to yes. And what I'm seeing here is 21. What does that tell us? So this is where you need to be careful. Now, this is my real echo that I'm supposed to get. But look at what I got initially. So this is where we need to be very careful. I'm getting this at 21. This tells us that this is not the echo that I need. Because my echo should be between 17.5 and 13.5 and 16.5. Okay. We should be around 13.5 to 16.5 because the depth of the O is at 15 mm. So you see that this one, if you make the mistake of plotting, if you make the mistake of choosing this one, you would have picked the wrong O. So you need to be very sure that you are getting it at the right depth. That's why you need to look at the depth. Now I'm getting that 16, I know that this is the right O. So I move back and forth until I maximize. I'm getting at 14. So my maximize is somewhere around this area. I add. You see my case is coming. Now I've done the 3 O. I need the 4th O. Remember, I said the 4th O, you will start from the last O at the back here. Which means if I put my probe here, it's going to bounce off and come in. If it bounces off, this distance it could have moved is 20 mm. Remember, this distance we had here is 1/4 of t, which is 5. So the depth here we should be looking at is 25 at the center of the O. If you take 1.5 both ways, we are going to be getting 23.5 to 26.5. So if we come back here, this same O, what do? We move backward in it, and this is the O. Now I'm getting 22.8, 23.5. So this is the O in question. You can see the depth, it matches with what we have. So what do? We maximize again and we add. I can go on and on, go to this next O that is in the video and keep plotting. Like I said, I need just minimum. For the purpose of this video, I can stop at this. And what do? When I'm done with it, I'll say done. Automatically, I have my DAC curve. So this is my DAC curve. So there are a whole lot of things you can do with this your DAC after plotting them. For example, we have view. What view are we looking at? Are we looking at the normal TCG or DAC, or we are looking at 20 to 80? So you will decide this. 20 to 80 is just giving you one curve. Your TCG view is giving you the TCG value. Remember I told you the TCG is a cousin to DAC. We are not looking at it now. But we want our normal DAC curve, which will show you. So this is what we are going to work with. Then your DAC gain is +0. What do we mean as +0? Remember I told you one of the purposes of the DAC, we use it as for quantifying defects. So this is 80%. This is our DAC 0, which is 0 dB at the reference. That's 0. If we remove 6 dB, that is the second curve. So this is our 0 dB gain. If I take 6 dB, you see the DAC is going up and down. DAC is going up and down, but I keep it at 0. So what we do as we're adjusting this dB gain, the position of the dB is changing. Then if we look at next DAC, it will be highlighting different DAC. If I say this is the DAC we have here, which is 80%. If I go next DAC, it goes to -6 dB. It keeps changing. You can come here and edit, delete, erase, or do whatever you want to do to the DAC. This is one beautiful thing about the EPOCH 650. You have all this function. So your DAC is ready for whatever use you want to put it to. So this is just a simple way of doing this. How about if we go back to setup and change it to standard and come back? Now we have just one curve. That same DAC we plot, instead of having as many three, we just have one. I can go back to setup and play around it however I want. You can try that at your spare time, but this is just a simple process for plotting DAC for your EPOCH 600. Okay, now we now demonstrate the same plotting of the DAC with the Sonatest D20. For all Sonatest units, the process is almost the same in terms of architecture, except maybe the latest wave. So the same process, you identify your three O's and all that. The only difference between this and when you use your system is how you go to your DAC and how you input your value. So normally for your Sonatest, you will normally find your DAC in the measurement menu. So if I go back to where my DAC is, normally now the DAC is on. If peradventure there was a DAC that has been plotted before, if you go and come and turn it on, you will see a DAC is coming out now because a DAC was plotted before. But now I want to start a fresh DAC. I will go to, instead of turning it on, I will say draw. So I click on draw. Now, one major difference between the Sonatest and the Olympus series is this gate. In the case of Sonatest, this whole white band you are seeing is the gate. So you don't have need to now say, if I have an echo that is small, that I want to adjust the height of the echo so that, like the normal flat gate, if you look at your Nortec, you have a gate. So you are playing around, you are moving this gate around when you are doing your DAC. But in the case of your Sonatest, you just have this white band too. We move it around. We can adjust the thickness of this white band by coming down to thickness. We can come down to thickness and do either thin or thick. So this is thin and this is thick, which is okay for us. We can come to adjust. You can see the cursor is moving. When you go up and down, the cursor moves. So if I get my point, let's say I go to my first point. If I go to my first point, this is my first point. If I say this is my first point, which is this point, I go to my cursor and adjust it back. I go to my cursor. Okay. So this is what I'm looking for. I adjust my cursor to get to it. Now, looking at your depth, we are seeing depth of 4.08, which is our depth of this indication. So as usual, we go to our gain, we bring it down to 80% of full screen height. Now it's at 80%. Okay, we really maximize. Okay, let's maximize. We take it down to 80%. Yes, okay, it's maximized. The reason why it's jumping our gain step is 2. We can come to gain step and reduce the gain step to 0.5 and go back to dB and we can get it to 80 now. So it's at 80 and we press OK for some seconds. Okay, so you can see these black spots, though it's not where we want it to be because there was some movement. So you come, you maximize. Now it's maximized. Let's check. Okay, it's maximized. We get to gain. We bring the gain down until it's 80%. Then we press OK. Now it's asking casual reference point without changing the gain. Press menu. Okay, why is it telling us that? Because we have a previous print that we did before that we want to delete. So normally I come back, I turn off, I come back, I draw again. So this is our maximize point. We adjust our cursor to make sure that the cursor is covering it. We come to our dB. We reduce our dB until we get to 80%. Then we press OK. You need to keep your hands fixed so that the echo does not jump all over the place and go out. So you press OK. Now it has imputed the first point. So you go to your second point, like you did for a noted. You go to your second point. You go to your adjust, you adjust your gate. You look at the thickness of the second, we are getting it at 8.5, so we maximize. Our maximize point is somewhere around this. We don't have to change the gain anymore. We just press OK. You hold the OK for a couple of seconds before it will come in. You continue the process until you get to your total number of points. Now we have 0.2. So if you do this 0.3, 0.4, which if we continue now, 0.3, we do 0.3. This is 0.3. I adjust. Now we get the third spot, which is showing now. We say OK. We accept. We'll go to the fourth spot the same way we did the last time. We'll go to the fourth spot. We'll adjust again. To confirm we are getting it at 20 point. Remember we said between 22 to 25. So this is definitely it. We say OK. So when we are done with this, we have gotten our 4 points. Then we go to our menu and we turn on. So this is the DAC we just plotted now. If you look at our Nortex 600, you just say on or finish or done. But in the case of this, when you are done plotting, you need to go and turn on the DAC before it will connect the point for you. You can keep adding point until you get your final result. Now, your DAC is on. what are the options that are available to you? So this is where you can get, instead of telling you asymmetry and all that like it does in Notec, it will just give you the option -6, -12, -6, -14, -2, 6, and -10. So when you have -6, -12, if I go to -6, -12, it will give us 3 curve, where this is 80 dB, this is a 80% full screen height, 40% full screen height, and 20% full screen height. You can see them. If I do 2, 6, and 10, it will give us 4. You can see them. So the 2, 6, the 6, 12 is usually what we call the asymmetry in our Notec 600, 650. But it's the same principle. Now, if you look at your screen closely, you will see ref 42. This is your reference dB. This is the dB at which you got your first points. And this value of your reference dB, you need to keep it, because this is what you are going to be using when you are using your DAC to do evaluation when you have a defect. So you need to take note of that. So basically, this is how you plot DAC.